but his talk today is called Real-Time Number Portability Using CGRateS. Let's give a big round of applause to Dan Christian Bogos.
Thanks a lot, guys. So thank you, Tervis, for a very nice introduction and complete. A bit about the company is located in Germany, Bavaria. We got some years of experience with both wholesale as well as retails, and we treat seriously the networks we build, and especially due to the afraid of the live system outages. About CGRateS project, CGRateS came out of our need of a billing engine. We used to do large VoIP platforms before, and we came in need of a fast engine, and we are calling it as an enterprise, since it's quite customizable, and we call it also a billing suite because we evolved from a simple billing engine into a framework, as you will see in the next slides. It's pluggable into existing infrastructure, so it's designed to be easily adopted in new projects. We should be able to accommodate new components very easily in your network. So if you get, I don't know, a new communication switch or an SMS service, data stream, whatever, it should be easy to do that. And we also try to be as non-intrusive as possible into existing setups. So we communicate, we exchange information with the switch. You don't need to route calls through us. So this should give you an advantage of keeping things separated, so where they should be. Everything what we do is open source software, so the full sources are available on GitHub. No add-ons in private repositories because first of all we have a lot of consideration for community contribution. So please, we also invite you, join us if you are interested about this stuff. It's all fun, of course. It's performance oriented because it's real time. We need to be responsive and do it fast. Any kind of delay we introduce means delay on your call setups. We have for that built-in advanced cache system which we developed. It's transactional, so it can fail over if it doesn't pick up all the information. It supports LRU. This hot data will stay always in the cache. You can define a limited number of objects in the memory, and as soon as the limit has reached, we start replacing objects with the new ones, and we do that based on the usage. So the used records will always stay in cache. We also support ETL, time to live, for the objects, so you can expire, you can say, I want my data to stay in memory for a maximum of 1 day, and stuff like that. Everything we do is asynchronous, so we use for that what others are calling microthreads. This Go threads, you know, the project, I don't know if I mentioned, but it's written in Go. We are one of the oldest Go projects around. We started in 2010 with Go, 2011 when Go was in weekly release. Also about the time when project started. It's a test-driven development. From beginning we have focused a lot on tests. This is what saves us, and it's giving us the opportunity to keep the compressed team of developers. We got today more than 5,000 tests which are run as part of our build system. We have a modular architecture. All these fancy words about cloud ready, microservices, all are built in. Everything what we do is API based, so even our components are talking between themselves via APIs. So For example, you want to replace one of our components with your own ones, you just need to support the same APIs as the old one, so you don't even need to write Go code if you want to have a particular component removed. Feature rich. In terms of feature, we are what people are calling OCS, online charging system. We also do offline charging. We support multi-tenancy, rating engine, which was the original component we started with, supporting this derived charging, so you can fork one CDR at input into any output CDRs. This is useful if you want to do billing for your resellers, for your distributors, billing for your suppliers versus your customers, so you can get many calculations done for the same CDR and also for the same session. We do account balances management with bundles, so we support this, which is pretty popular in MVNO, in mobile world, bundles of data, SMS, voice, and so on. We do session or event charging with balance reservation and refunds, so we are able to detect whether we have reserved too much, refund stuff into various balances, and so on. We have plugins, or what we call agents, into major open source VoIP systems. So you'll see also in the next slide. Fraud detection with automatic mitigation. I was talking here in the last years about it. It's quite advanced and quite customizable, so you can put a lot of rules there. LCR with quality of service. Or bundles. I'll talk also about this a bit more. Event statistics with pattern monitoring, so you can monitor ASR, ACD, and stuff which you are interested. It's all in memory, very fast and scalable. So for one CDR, you can have unlimited number of stats and queues. Diameter and radius server with process templates, so we are kind of standard agnostic, so you can be compatible with the interface you need. We have also a resource allocation controller, so if you want to monitor the channels per destination, per source, per caller, per limited number of geographical area, and so on, all are possible. Built-in high availability. We fail over between components automatically, and we are agile in developing new features. We are quite features hungry, so if you have an idea, crazy idea, just put it on our GitHub and we are happy to deal with it. Regarding activity of the process, you can see sometimes in 2013 it was our first year of coming to KluCon. And ever since, the project was quite consistent in commits. In these stats at least, you cannot find a single day without commits. So we are doing this since quite some years now, continuously committing code. We got over 200,000 lines nowadays of code. So the project grew quite fast. In terms of interfaces and components inside, this is just an overview. You would see that you can interact with CGRateS via diameter, radius, asterisk, FreeSWITCH, Kamailio, OpenSIPs, plus some private RPC, which we have available. So if you have a switch which does not support any of these interfaces, you can just write your plugins and it should communicate with CGRateS. Regarding number portability, we implemented as what people are saying all-core query. So each call will be going through CGRateS, like communicating, doing queries in CGRateS. We will be having a centralized number portability database stored inside CGRateS, and we do that via attributes subsystem. These components, which are exposed here. Each of them can be run on separate server if you want, on separate hardware, or you can build them all in one process. It all depends on how you want to scale. So you can engineer your network and then your infrastructure based on your own needs. Each individual can be seen as a separate daemon, if you like. Regarding the number portability, you can do it via routing the traffic via direct interconnect. So you can have direct interconnect with the number owner, or you can we also support interoperator routing. So each of your suppliers will publish their cost for specific termination numbers or carrier codes, because we also support identify the operator code, and we support pricing based on operating codes as well. As the feature of this subsystem doing number portability and aliasing, it's fast, so all the records are stored in what we call DataDB. This is a NoSQL database, for example, Redis or Mongo. We also support internal NoSQL. So that's completely cached, and it's destroyed when you restart the system. So every time you can maybe load all the data inside. The data from this database, it can be pre-cached. So when the server is starting up, it can query and load all the data into its own cache. So we use fast like Redis, but the cache, we call it what's inside our process, because every query for us is the expensive part, the serializing the data which is going towards Redis. This for us is expensive. So we do everything, we try to keep as much data as possible into the process memory. Or you can cache on demand with time to live. So if you hit, I will show you a quick demo in the end. If you hit one time the database with a number, you will have that number in the process cache of CGRateS, and then you can also auto expire it. So for example, if you are not using centralized database in CGRateS and you are querying via some APIs, external APIs, another system for querying the LRN, for example, you can set a time to live. So you say, I don't want to keep it more than few hours or maybe a day. So tomorrow, until tomorrow, it will be served from CGRateS. So this spares you some money, because each of these APIs are costly for you. So next day it will be automatically, if it hits you again, it will be automatically discarded from CGRateS cache and requeried from your remote provider. Matching can be done for full number or number blocks. So this can be done via prefixes or some regex rules. We have the regex part can be, due to performance, can be done if you associate it with another type of matching via strings, because we index, and due to the speed requirements, we index only the strings. So we first always query the string part. We can do multiple process runs for one API call. So if your event caller destination needs to be matched, this was a typical thing for US here, because you have this intra-LATA and inter-LATA billing, and we needed not to only match the LRN conversion of the number, but we also needed to know whether it's an inter or intra-LATA. Us being from Europe, for us the life was simpler, because we filter inter versus intra at number layer. So we filter at prefixes. So for us it was easier, but due to this we support now multiple process runs for one API call. So we send the event once for finding out the number as well as the LATA of the number. Then we send one more for finding the caller as well as the caller LATA, and then we compare to see if it's inter or intra-LATA call, or if it's local, because this was also, as far as I've heard, a fancy demand here. Number conversion towards routing number or operator code. So you can do this LRN based or operator code based pricing. Then you can have a complete database import whenever you do, or if just some records are changing, if you are receiving in real time ported numbers reports, then you can also update them via per number inside CGRateS. And for all this, we have full RPC API support. In terms of how to, like a receipt, you can do routing or LCR for ported numbers using the following subsystems. Attributes for mapping to routing number, suppliers for finding operators serving that number, routing number, RALs for getting termination cost over different operators, stats for getting quality metrics for operators terminating the call, so you can take the decisions based on a large number of particularities. And you have also resources for implementing limits towards operators. So not only that you find cheapers, the best quality, but you also need to find the one which still has channels available for you. All this can serve together when taking decision where to route the call. Regarding rating calls, it will involve attributes and RALs. It can authorize prepaid, or these prepaid are live debited calls, or it can do pseudo prepaid, which are authorized at the beginning and debited in the end of the call. And then all this balance reservation and stuff like that. Attributes, this is the subsystem handling the number portability aliasing. It will personalize the request with stored attributes. It will add, replace event fields. We have generic filters for matching rules, so you are not obliged to use our fields. Yeah, it's following the LDAP or diameter model, and you can also do context-based aliasing. This is an example of API setting an attribute profile. So you can see you get the tenant. This is the mandatory part. So we isolate data based on the tenant. If your user does not have access to the tenant, then we could, in theory, reject it. Or maybe your user does not have access to the APIs. You can set an ID for the profile, and then you can see you set the field name destination should have any value, and it will be substituted with DTAG. In this case, we use an operator code. So by sending a process event, a very simple and basic API being sent to CGRateS in the context of LCR, you can see the destination is here some number. And as reply, you can see that the system announces you that it has altered the destination field. So you get, instead of the previous destination, you get now an operator code. And based on that, you can have the pricing considering that. Suppliers, it's another standalone service. It's internally or remotely accessible like attributes. So each of these can be standalone systems. So you can play with APIs with various parts. It's tightly coupled with accounting subsystem. If you need suppliers with bundles, this supports too. So you can have minutes available only in weekend, and the system will see that supplier that still has minutes available, maybe with a special price or free. You can decide there in your rules. It can integrate traffic patterns. So the LCR is not per minute, but it's per what you say. If you want per hour or per second or per nanosecond, whatever. It supports many strategies. Most noticed are the weight, which is static supplier list based on your preferences, or list cost to order the suppliers based on cost. You have also something based on QoS, so the best quality with thresholds and so on. And we also support a feature regarding supplier. that you never exceed the cost. So give me all the suppliers whose costs do not exceed my customer cost. So you never sell negative. Get suppliers API example. You see here account setup, destination, usage. So this is the pattern which I told you. You can put there what you want. And you see a list of suppliers being reported back with the sorting strategy used, which in this case is least cost. And then you can see the suppliers can also have parameters. So for example, you can strip one digit and prepaint the prefix if you want. If you know that your supplier is an international one, you can play with the number in the switch. These parameters are not important for CGRateS. They are transparently passed, but are important for your switch. So you will use these parameters and do further processing per each supplier. And you will see their cost, so you know why you have chosen these suppliers. In this case, you see that the two suppliers are having the same cost, but different weight. So the supplier 3 will take over supplier 1 due to the priority. In terms of FreeSWITCH integration, it's real-time via ESL. We have published a long time ago FSOC library for Go, and we have connection pool and all sorts of fancy stuff. We monitor CDRs in real time, so we get the CDRs via JSON CDR or offline via CDR, CSV, or XML CDR. So CDRs are completely decoupled from events in real time. In terms of number portability within FreeSWITCH, the data is completely received from CGRateS. No additional database module needed on FreeSWITCH side. It's non-intrusive. Data is passed via the socket, and we have routing supplier set as array variable by CGRateS into FreeSWITCH, and you can use this in your dial plan. And rating calls are monitored in real time and disconnects, so CGRateS can disconnect the calls. It's not a demand for FreeSWITCH to be aware about number portability taking place. I will do a very, very quick demo. All the demo files are published on GitHub already, so you can just take it and play it yourself and try to understand how we do it. So this is how we define the data. For example, attributes. Each line makes something. So for example, it will convert your destination into the LRN number, and then it also stores the destination just that you know that it was changed. And then it will add the LATA code for your destination. It will add the LATA code for your caller. And then it will also set the LRN jurisdiction, so you can bill inter or versus intra. I hope I have here. So I can start fresh. Just that you see, in order to load the data, you call the loader binary on the data, and it will load all the data which I showed you. It's available on GitHub. And then you start the CGR console. This is just for, as an example, you can always call these APIs from your website directly. So I'm emulating a call here. I have it on tenant CGRateS, of course, for marketing purposes, some identifier, and then the event, which is the count, a number from New York, and then calling the destination. I have on purpose chosen the hotel number from here, and setup time should be now in the context of LRN, and the system returns back a profile, and it sorts the suppliers for me. So I get Comcast, Level 3, and T-Mobile based on their cost, which they are charging me for this number. The most important part, 1 second, I can show you the API call, is this one, that the attributes will will show you that we have changed the destination. So the destination, the new one, is a ported number. So it proves that, or it looks like the hotel is using another number as, so it was using already another operator than the original owner of the number. So yeah, I try to be quick, so I don't know if I have time for 1-2 questions, or what do you think, Travis? I'm done in practice.
Let's first give him a big round of applause.
Thanks a lot.